means something different to everybody. And so that is absolutely, there's no right or wrong answer to that. I happen to love this definition of minimalism. This is from the book, The Minimalists. Ryan Nicodemus was one of the authors of that book. And he says that minimalism is about creating a simple life for yourself so you have the energy, time, and other resources to contribute beyond yourself in a meaningful way. And I love that because I feel like it just kind of brings everything into under one umbrella, right? It's not just about stuff. Living a minimalistic life is not just about getting rid of stuff. It's about building a life that is full of meaning and working towards having all the energy and time and everything else that you need to build that life. What I think is interesting is that I hear a lot of people talking about minimalism and how it's like a new trend and, oh, it's on the way out, it's just a trend. But the thing is that minimalism has been with us for a very, very long time. This scene right here is it's the Temple of Apollo. It's in Delphi, which I'm pretty sure is Greece. and on this pronaos up here are is inscribed these sayings. And I think that many of us are familiar with these sayings, right? Know thyself. Whoops, that just covers that up. Nothing to excess, and surety brings ruin. These are thoughts that have been around with us for thousands of years. And the one thing I really, really love about the surety brings ruin is that it can have some dual meanings, right? So surety can mean beware of committing yourself to false opinions or beware of false certainty. So maybe feeling really certain about something, even if you're not sure if it's true or not. But also it can be interpreted as a warning of pledging land or property as collateral. And so, sometimes like you would with a loan, or sometimes it's even meant to be setting bail for somebody else. So in other words, it's really about, hey, stay out of debt, right? That's what they're really talking about there. Another idea about minimalism is that it really is sustainable. We hear so much these days about how, we really have to reduce our garbage, reduce our trash, and how important recycling is. But it's also kind of anti-consumeristic too, right? I mean, but it doesn't have to be anti, but it's about less consumerism, right? So it tends to combat our throwaway society. And did you know, fun fact here, that we actually have had to try to pass a law in Minnesota to be able to have the right to repair our electronic items. Like cell phones and or computers. It's called fair repair legislation. And I'm not trying to get political or anything here, but I'm getting to the point where it's so seriously, we have to have a law that gives us the right to have the things that we buy fixed instead of having to throw them out and buy brand new ones. It kind of really is a testament to where we're at in our society today. But one other thing I really want to point out about this whole reduce, reuse, recycle, we have all seen this, countless days. We hear it all the time. Have you ever, and maybe you have, maybe you're a little quicker on the uptake than I am, but it took me quite a while to realize that these words are in a very particular order. And that's not by accident, because what they are asking us to do, or what this idea is that first we want to focus on reducing. Then we want to focus on reusing. And the final is recycle. So I think a lot of us have gotten the message that it's really, really important to recycle, but we tend to focus less on the first two R's, which are reduce and reuse. And so it is those two areas that minimalism really does focus on. So so it is green and sustainable. Okay, so what types of things or what areas of your life do you want to start decluttering in? Here, I'll give you some time here. All right. Most people are saying rooms. Oh, and then we got sentimental, finances. Yep. Okay. I love watching the donut move as everybody's voting here. Okay, so it looks like right now, and we have another vote for rooms here in the chat too. So it sounds like a lot of you are focused more on decluttering your stuff right now, and that's actually fantastic because in all the different resources that I have read about minimalism and working to live a life worth meaning, they all say start with your stuff. And does anybody have a thought? Just throw it in the chat. Why do you think they might say start with your stuff? Any thoughts? Any ideas? It's okay if nobody has one. Okay. Well, excuse me. Forgive me. My allergies are just kicking in. You know, the reason why they say to start with stuff is because it's usually the easiest thing to start with, right? Because a lot of times we look at the messes in our houses, or we look at that box of stuff that we are like, oh, I've been meaning to go through that forever, and just have not haven't done it, but we feel the stress, and the less we, you know, the more we put it off, the more stress about it we're going to feel. So the reason why we start with decluttering stuff is because it's really actually a pretty easy place to start. If you think about it too, another way to look at this is that our lives in general are limited and finite, and we can't withstand constant addition. So when things aren't adding up in your life, you can start by subtracting stuff, right? So the first thing you have to do is choose your method. And I know it's the last thing on this list, but this list is no particular order here. And you do want to choose your method, and there's so many different methods out there. There's the KonMari method, right? The does this spark joy? There is the minimalist game or challenge. This one is kind of fun. You can challenge a family member, or you know, someone who lives in your house with you, or a friend, or another relative. Challenge them to a 1 month of decluttering. On the first day of the month, you get rid of one thing. On the second day of the month, you get a 2. On the third, 3, and so on until you're at the end of the month. And whoever lasts the longest, or gets rid of the most stuff, they win the challenge. You could even, you know, bet some money on it, or a dinner, or whatever it is that you want to do. But definitely you could make it a game, and you could do something really simple, like just gather 4 boxes, you know, put it, one is keep, one is throw away, one is give or sell, and then a 4th one would be undecided, because sometimes you're going to run across stuff that you're just not really sure if you're ready to get rid of it or not yet. One other challenge that one of our coworkers here at LSS talked about was to have a packing party. And I'm a little hesitant about this one, but I'm still going to put it out here, is pretend you're moving, pack everything in boxes, or just you could do it one room by one room. And then the stuff that you don't open, for say a month or more, then it's something you don't really need, right? And you might not need that. So there's a lot of different methods that you can use out there. And if you have a method that worked for you, please feel free to share it in the chat. But a couple other tips it's really important to think about is, if you have a spouse or a partner and kids living at home with you, it's really important to get them involved as well. One time I decided to do my husband a favor and clear off his dresser in our bedroom. And I can tell you I will never do that again, because what I decluttered and didn't think looked very important happened to be some things that he was holding on to for sentimental reasons. So you definitely want to get your spouse or partner on board. Kids, it's surprising that it's really easy to get kids involved just by having them make it into a game. And also, talk about, well, you don't play this anymore, maybe we can give this to somebody else who would really love to play it. And a lot of kids will get into that whole idea of giving their stuff away so that other people can enjoy it and value it. And you're also at that point in time sharing a value with them, right? A value of sharing and things like that. The other last thing is take your time, because gosh, it takes a long time, and you can get really frustrated and really sort of defeated and feeling like you're not making any progress, because it does take a long time. But think about, while you're thinking about this, think about how long did it take you to build up all the clutter in your life. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. It doesn't for most of us. So if you are looking, wanting to declutter in the next week before all your Thanksgiving guests show up, that might be a little too much pressure for you to take on right now. But if you want to think about, okay, I have this one room I need to declutter, then, hey, that can be a really good deadline, and setting deadlines can help a lot too. Now, a lot of people think about getting rid of sentimental items, and it can be a really, really, it is one of the things that everybody says, leave to the last. And a lot of times, many people don't feel like sentimental items are clutter. But if something no longer holds value to us, it really can end up becoming clutter. Let me give you a couple examples. This photo right here, as a matter of fact, I don't know if anyone recognizes it, but it's by Banksy. And I didn't know this when I picked this picture. And my coworker told me this. And the story with this photo is amazing. So this photo is called Girl with a Balloon. Well, there's a framed copy that was up for auction in 2018, and it was shredded. This beautiful artwork was shredded, and so that it would turn into a new work called Love is in the Bin. It just kind of blows me away when I hear that. And so, it makes you think about, Banksy believes in the impermanence of art and life and all of that. And so in this, when you're even looking at this little girl, it's like, is she letting that balloon go, or is she trying to reach for it? Some different things to look at. So when it comes to sentimental items, another one of the minimalists that I follow is Joshua Fields Milburn, and he talks about when he lost his mother and had to clean out her house. It was full of things. His mother was a collector, not a hoarder, but a collector, and she had a antique furniture and all these boxes of things that she had collected over her lifetime. And while he was cleaning out her things, he discovered under her bed a box of all the things that, his report cards and his artwork and everything that he had done when he was a child. And he describes this experience, and he says, that it really dawned on him then that there's a strong relationship between memories and possessions. And sometimes if we get rid of those possessions, we feel like we're also going to lose the memory. Another example would be when I was younger, my grandparents died, and I wanted nothing more than my grandma's china cabinet and her china. And I made great use of it for several years after her death. But then, after we moved three different times and finally moved into the house that we now live in, and are going to stay in, that china just sat down in boxes, not gathering dust, but not being used, not being looked at, not having any value to anyone. And I thought to myself, this is really no this doesn't honor my grandmother, the memory of her, these china plates just sitting in the basement in boxes. And I don't have anywhere to store them because I had long since gotten rid of the china cabinet. And so I decided to put them on my Facebook Buy Nothing page for my neighborhood. I'm betting you guys have that in your area too. And somebody else who had been looking for this specific pattern found it and was just incredibly excited about the fact that she could just have these plates. And so one of the things to ask yourself when you are looking at sentimental items is it actually bringing value to you? Are you able to use it? Does it really truly make you still feel connected to that other person or to that time in your life? You can look at things like pictures. You can scan pictures now, or we can all put those into our drives. Recently, I took all my daughter's childhood artwork, and I took pictures of it. And then I framed the ones that I really loved, and I took pictures of all the other things. And yeah, it was hard to throw them out, but I did, because what am I going to do with them otherwise? And they're just going to be left here for her to throw out when I pass on to the great beyond. So thinking about sentimental items in that way, it's not about having to get rid of all of them. They're not bad. They're not evil. Of course not. But it's really about being choosy about what it is that you want to keep. And is it really truly bringing value to you? Because those can be the most difficult things to declutter. Does anybody else have experience or tips about getting rid of sentimental items?
Shannon, my mom my grandmother had antique teacups. And, what she ended up doing was she broke it up and gave each great grandchild an antique teacup. So each just had one. They didn't have a whole set. So these little girls are having tea parties with these little antique cups, and it was really special for everybody.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. That's just a way to share the joy of that and the value, and they'll have something to treasure their whole lives until they maybe decided to give it to their kids, or however it works out. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Jill. All right, one other area where a lot of people want to declutter is, although on here you guys didn't really vote for it, but so I'll just touch on this really quickly. But our digital lives can really overwhelm us. Maybe we have too many friends on Facebook, or when was the last time you looked at all your photos on your phone that are maybe stored in your drive? Do you really need pictures of what you ate last year on October 10th? I like just some random date. It's a memory, of course, but do you really want to have that? Emails. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how many times I talk with people who are like, oh, my emails drive me crazy. I had to open a new email box to get rid of, or a new email account to get rid of my old email account because it was overridden with ads and newsletters and different junk mail. Really, it's all junk mail. And so, decluttering that, it can take a lot of time, but once, if you have just the friends that you actually really truly want on Facebook, if you are on Facebook, and many of us are on social media. It's about 7 in 10 people in the US use social media. But is it really adding value to our life? So once again, just asking yourself, is this adding value? And if it's not, then find a way to get it out of your life, because it's taking away time from the things that you really do value. And it could be something as simple as taking Facebook off of your phone and only looking at it on your computer, or it could be choosing one, like having Facebook or Instagram but not both, or having Instagram or TikTok. But it's really about those choices, and then sitting down and actually deleting and unsubscribing from all your old emails that you really don't want, right? Instead of opening a whole new email account, the strategy that I use is to select all, and then go through and look at, okay, anything that's old, I give myself a date. I say anything that's older than, a month, I'm going to delete it. And then I just go through that, and I look at what is really important. What do I really need to keep? And I uncheck those. And it makes it so easy then to hit that delete button. But also then as new ones come in, this can take a week. It could take a while. As new ones come in, you unsubscribe. So decluttering digitally is another area that we can look at. All right, now for those of you who want to declutter financially, this pyramid of financial wellness is the way that we talk about it at LSS Financial Counseling. So if you have ever thought, oh, I really want to get my finances in order, I have so many things that it's just driving me crazy. Like I think about, this bill or that debt, or I know I spend too much in this area, and you don't even know where to start. Well, this can give you some order and a really good place to start when it comes to decluttering your finances. So first of all, think about, go back to that idea with from the Greeks, right? The ancient Greeks, nothing to excess or surety brings ruin. So that may help you to figure out where to start. So the very place to start, the very foundation of all financial well-being, is to try to make sure that you're spending less than you're earning. Because look, there's really 3 ways that we can all live, right? We can spend less than we earn so that we can build savings. We can spend more than we earn, but that's going to lead to debt and no savings. Or we can spend right up to what we earn, which might keep us out of debt for a while, but it's not allowing us to build any savings, which doesn't build any security. And then if an emergency happens, then what happens? You're probably going to have to create debt. So the very first foundation is making sure that you're spending less than you earn. Is that easy to do? No, not always. It's not always easy to do. Is it worth it? Will it add value to your life? Yes, absolutely it will. Next step, save $1,000. Why 1,000? Seems like an arbitrary number, right? With $1,000, you can typically manage most surprise expenses that are going to pop up. Those things that tend to that you end up having to put on credit cards in the end. Things like car repairs or home repairs, or maybe an excessively high fueling bill, now that we're going into the winter. Things like that, if you're able to have a minimum, even if it's $500, but a $500 to $1,000 in savings can help you to avoid a lot of debt. If you are already there, then you focus on paying off those higher interest debts. If you've already got that $1,000, focus on high interest debts like credit cards, all right? And then once those are wiped out, you focus on saving 3 to 6 months of living expenses so that you can build that security into your life. And then finally, you focus on lower interest debts like student loans or car loans or mortgages, things like that. And then in the end, ideally, you're able to focus on saving more towards retirement. Now, this is not something that we would ever expect anybody to complete in a week or a month or a year. This is a lifetime. And and the frustrating thing is that sometimes you can get up here to the paying off all the high interest debts. Something happens, you're working on that 3 to 6 months of expenses. Something happens, you lose a job, somebody gets sick. You could end up right back down here where you're making sure that you spend less than you earn. And it can feel really futile to be working at this, but just imagine how much better it would feel to end up to have all those high interest debts paid off and then fall back down here than if you still had all the debts, right? Because you're still going to be in a better situation if you don't have the debts. So how do you get started? There's 3 ways. So you can look at taking an inventory of your bills. Are there any categories that you can reduce or cancel? I know, like, I talk to my husband all the time about, okay, do we really need 5 different streaming subscriptions on TV? I mean, isn't that why we stopped cable? Because, we want to save money on that. And, and really, is it bringing value to our life and that thing? So this is a big question that I'm always asking about everything. Is this subscription, is this whatever sort of recurring expense, is it adding value to my life? Can I live without it? Is it a need or want? Those sorts of questions. And if the answer is no, it's not adding value, I can live without it, then maybe it's time to look at canceling that, even if it's temporary. Another thing you can do is hide money from yourself. Now, I mean, you have to admit, we all have ways of hiding spending from ourselves, right? I mean, I've done it. I know I've done it in my life. So I think other clients that I've spoken with have done it. It's really easy to hide that spending from ourselves. It's off the book spending. Well, maybe think about hiding money from yourself. So, whether it's, setting up a automatic savings for your goals, or setting up automatic savings for the holidays, or whatever it is, setting up automatic savings deposits can really help move you towards more of that security and feeling less cluttered with your finances. And then finally, another thing you can do is pay more than the minimum payments on debt. So it's really about identifying what is it that is feeling the most cluttered to you in your life. Is it expenses? Well, then look at your expenses. Do you have too many? Is there anything you can reduce, anything you can cut out? The next is, okay, well, if I'm feeling insecure about where I'm at, I think my spending is fine, but I don't know what I'm going to do if an emergency happens. Then that gives you a clue. Well, then maybe you need to start hiding money from yourself. And then finally, if it's debt, then really focusing on getting that debt out of your life is going to lead you to a larger life worth living, right? I mean, because it's no fun to pay for yesterday, today. Now, one other thing I like to talk about is that when we're talking about decluttering, it's really easy to declutter and then bring stuff back into your life, right? You're like, oh, all right, I just cleared up this room. Now, let me see, do I need to put a painting there, or what should I put there? Let yourself sit in that empty room for a while so that you can enjoy that space and really figure out what it is that you really want to bring back into that room. And we could do this with our lives in general as well. I'm guessing you've heard of the term lifestyle creep. So think about this for a moment. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whenever you were just kind of starting off on your adulthood, your path to adulthood, you know, in your 20s, you're typically able to live at a much lower standard of living than as you get older and older and older, because what tends to happen psychologically is that our expenses tend to rise to the level of our income. And that is exactly what they mean by lifestyle creep. So you can clear everything out, you can get rid of your debt, you can build that savings, but maybe every year you get a raise, you have extra money, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to buy more stuff. And then you spend more time maintaining your stuff, and then you got to work harder, and then you get another raise. And it's just this cycle that you go on and on and on. And it's like waking up in your financial closet, it's full, right? Full of expenses, full of debt payments, full of whatever it is that you don't want there. Or you might find that you're always waiting for that next raise because the last one, it just wasn't enough, right? You're still not at that enough. And well, I can't remember who to quote here, but there was, I think it was a Rockefeller was asked back in the day, how much money is enough money? And his reply was one more dollar. So it's always, yeah, lifestyle creep is something that happens so easily. So how do you prevent it? Well, you have to be strategic about it. Okay, create a goal based on the money management system that you choose for yourself, whether it's the pyramid or some other system you have in place, but create it to work towards goals. So if your goal is to only bring stuff of value back into your life, then make sure that you're doing that, right? And make sure you're doing it with where you're putting your money. Here's another thing that we tend to not think about, but it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people. There has been a lot of research into this idea that we are heavily influenced by the people that we choose to spend time with. Whether it's our family or our friends, if we have friends that are out there traveling all the time and traveling the world, we're going to be more influenced to want to be able to do that. Or if they go out to dinner all the time, we're going to be influenced to want to do that. Look, I love going out to dinner. It's one of my favorite things to do. It is not hard to get me to go. But as I talk more and more to my friends, we've been talking about the idea that, I would much rather hang out with you in my backyard and we all cook some really good food and just, have a bonfire and it's all at our own leisure, our own time frame, and we can eat whatever we want, and it's just so much more relaxing. So if you are able to surround yourself with people who are also trying to live minimalistically or whatever it is that you're working towards, create less debt or pay off debt, things like that, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to be successful at that as well. And then of course another tip for this is avoiding social media, because social media just makes us want what other people look like they have, right? It's a great tool to make us want things. It's that whole keeping up with the Joneses idea. And then finally, you want to visualize your goals. So I know it sounds corny again, but create a vision board or write down your goals. Envision, spend some time envisioning, like, wow, this is what my house could look like if it was decluttered. This is what it would feel like to have all my debt paid off. This is what I would do with the extra money. This is what I would do with the extra space. So really take time to visualize that, and it can help you to avoid that lifestyle creep. Okay, we're going to start wrapping things up here, but I want to hear one more thing from you. So what, if anything, is holding you back from living your fullest life? And we're going to make a word cloud here. Or you could also think of it as what is tying you to that life that or the stuff that you want to declutter. Oh, Jill, I really like I like that quote. I don't know if people saw it, but Jill posted a quote. It says, "Debt is the cruelest form of affluence." Absolutely, I love that. That's fantastic. Yep. All right. So it looks like we have a few people participating in this with Menti here, and that's okay. Um, So I'm just gonna give, yep, okay. So it looks like stress wins out here. And absolutely, stress absolutely can hold us back from living the best life, right? Our fullest life. Um, and then we've got family, impulsivity, energy, not having energy. I'm guessing is what that means. And for some people, it's mementos are getting in their way. Um, and time. So these are all really super common things that hold us back. I call them anchors because they kind of hold us to what maybe the life we thought we wanted to have 20 years ago, right? Or the life that we never pursued because maybe we wanted something completely different when we were kids, but things got in the way and then life just happened, right? Um, and one of the things that can get in our way, one of those things that can anchor us is identity, right? Our identity. And what I mean by that is how do we identify in the world? The biggest thing for most of us tends to be our work, right? One of the first questions we ask a lot of people when we first meet them is, so what do you do? And everybody knows that what we mean by that, even though we don't say what kind of work do you do, we don't say where do you work. Well, sometimes we might say that. We say, what do you do? And the most common response is somebody responding with, well, I'm a financial educator. I work for LSS, or whatever that answer may be. But we all know that we're far much more than our work, than our jobs, right? So our identity can hold us back from what living from what we think living life to its fullest would be. So think about this. Think about the idea that I am are two of the most powerful words that you can use, because what you put after them shapes your reality. And this goes back to know thyself, right? So try this exercise, either do it right now or later tonight. Write down the words I am. And then with each line, write down the different things that you are or are not. So you could say, I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am not a brother. I don't know. That's just the first things that came to the top of my head. But it's really powerful because once you get going, you could really come up with a list of all the things that you are. And that can help you the next time somebody says, so what do you do? You could say, well, I am a writer. I am a cook. I am any number of things that you want to be, because you get to decide what your identity is, nobody else. All right, so another thing that can anchor us to these lights and to stuff is status, right? Status can mean a couple different things, but a lot of times it can mean, that climbing the corporate ladder or working towards tenure. And there's not anything wrong with those things as long as they really truly are bringing value to your life and not creating so much stress in your life that you're not even able to enjoy the fruits of them, of your labor, right? You can also status can also be seen kind of as stereotypes. For example, this is a lot of times can anchor people down to, well, I always wanted to be a writer, but if I'm going to be a writer, it means I'm going to be super poor, or 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 an actress or an artist. Well, it's the starving artist syndrome, right? Or there might be other people who think, well, if I have all this status, if I'm going to be a boss, that means I have to be mean. Or if I'm going to be a boss, it means that, or if I earn a lot of money, it means, does that make me greedy? So there's these stereotypes that we get caught up in that can also hold us back from the life that we want to live. You can combat that status anchor by turning down the volume on all the shoulds that are out there and all the stereotypes, and give more credence to your identity, how you define your identity, and using the I am. Okay. So status, identity and status can be two big things that hold us back from that. And they can also be things that add more stuff into our life too, right? Like, oh, my neighbor got a new TV. I really like that TV. I want a TV just like theirs, so now I'm going to get one too because I want to keep up, or I just really like that technology. Those can be things that get in the way. All right. Certainty. Remember when we were talking about surety leads to ruin? This can also be taken to mean safety, comfort, routine. So safety, comfort, and routine can lead to ruin. They don't sound like things that would be harmful, but if you're never taking a risk, if you're so attached to that certainty that you never take a risk, how do you end up being able to live the life that you want to be living? Right? So it's important to combat this. And there's two ways you can do this. You can find a way to associate more pain with not taking the risks that you want to take. These don't have to be big things either, it could be, I've really wanted a new job for a long time, and so I'm actually gonna put together a resume, or I'm gonna even look at the want ads, or something like that. But even that little bit, daily incremental steps. But if you can find more or associate more pain with not taking the risk, like, well, gosh, if I don't do that, I'm going to be stuck in this job that I hate for the rest of my life. That's horrible, right? Or you can reverse it and look on the positive, and associate more pleasure with the long-term fulfillment of your dream. Wow, just imagine this. If I found a new job, I might maybe I could be doing this, and I've always wanted to do that. And then once I'm doing that, I don't know, I might be able to do the next thing and the next thing. And so, or this is what my life would look like if I just take this little risk. So thinking about those little daily risks that you can take to combat that certainty in your life, or just that comfort, can really move you towards that bigger life. And what does that have to do with decluttering stuff? Well, a lot of times it's about getting rid of that stuff that no longer has value. Maybe it gives us comfort, but it doesn't add value to our life anymore. All right. And then finally, I just want to talk to you about financial security. We talked about steps you can take to declutter your finances, but financial security can also be another form of certainty, right? Because look, we all like that paycheck that we get, however frequently you get it. It's hard to give up a regular paycheck, but if you're a person who wants to become a small business owner, or go to work for yourself, giving up that paycheck, obviously you don't just want to give it up overnight, but slowly finding a way to be able to do that. It's scary and it's frightening. And a lot of times people will give up that dream because they can't walk away from that financial security. We all need financial security, but at some point, it's about saying, okay, what do I need to get out of my way so that I can move to that next level, whether it's spending less, whether it's paying off debts, or building more savings so that you can step out and take that risk. Looking at, the idea that if you have fewer financial obligations, you'll have more freedom to choose the path that can lead to the full life that you want to live. And of course, once again, goes back to the reduce, right? Because if you reduce what you're bringing into your home, it oftentimes can lead to less debt and less work that you have to do to maintain those things as well. Okay, so just to sum up, for next steps, start with decluttering things first, then declutter digitally. Wipe all that out of your way, right? Use the pyramid to declutter your finances. Watch out for that lifestyle creep and combat those anchors that keep you where you're at. Start small with daily incremental changes. And if you follow these steps, focus on what's important to you to declutter, then you will find that the rest tends to fall into place. Of course, it also takes a little intentionality and working to combat that surety, because you don't want to end up with that ruin. All right. Are there any questions or comments? If there's not, I'm going to leave you all with the last thoughts of Jerry Seinfeld from the skit he was doing earlier. I'll tell you what, think about him while I play this for you.
Oh, you're all excited when you get something, right? You bring it in, you open it on the kitchen table, the place of honor for the new arrival.
Shoot. I guess it's not going to work for me today.
From the closet, it goes to the garage. One of the longest phases in trashification. But the most definite, back into the house.
Sorry about that. It's not going to work.
The word garage seems to be a form of the word.
Oh, it's really not going to work. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Sometimes technology just doesn't want to work with you. If there are questions, though, super happy to answer them. Just please remember that if you do want to meet with one of our counselors aren't experts in minimalism, but they can help you figure out how to declutter those finances if that's one of your goals as well.
And Shannon, if you send me that video, I'll link it to the Mid-Minnesota Facebook event if you guys still want to watch it.
Oh, great. Perfect.
So we'll do that, and then know that this has been recorded. And so all of our sessions that we do, all the trainings that we do virtually are recorded and at mmfcu.org/events. So you can watch them at your leisure. So thank you to Shannon. Again, our next session is January 11th, Recovering Your Finances.
Yes.
So
All right.
thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, Shannon.
Oh, you're welcome.